to get nice continents and rivers flowing through them in your world generation, you'll want to go to the vintagestory mod page and download the RiverGen mod and the Continental World Mod. Links for those will be in the description. Once you got those mods downloaded, just put them in your mod folder, which you can access by going to Mod Manager and then clicking on the button that says Open Mods folder. And then you can hit the Reload Mods button to make them show up. When you go to create a new world, go to Customize, World Generation, and what the Continent Mods recommends you do is change land cover to 30% and then land cover scale to 100%. This should give you a more real-life, realistic scale with how continents and how big the oceans are in real life. But if you want smaller continents and smaller oceans so you don't have to travel as far between the continents, then keep land cover at 30%, but then go to 50%. This is my personal preference, but it's up to you. I'll show you what both look like. Also, I have colored maps on in case you don't know how to do that. Just go to survival challenges when creating a world and then go all the way down to color accurate world map and just check that on. So this is what a 30% land cover and 100% land cover scale will look like, which is again the recommended settings by the continents mod. You'll get this very pretty decent sized continent, like it's very big. Like on one end over here, it's negative 6,000 on the x-axis. And then on the other far end over here, it's positive 6,000 on the x-axis. So this continent is roughly like 12,000 blocks long. Maybe more on the diagonal. I don't know the actual number. And then there'll be big like oceans in between the other major continents and stuff. And then you can see the rivers mod doing its work. You'll get like rivers that just cut through the continent, give you like ocean access and stuff. And then some will connect up into lakes like it do here. The rivers mod does have a config JSON file. So if you go in mod config folder, you can mess around and tweak the river settings if you like. But I feel like the default settings are pretty decent. And same thing goes for the continents mod. It has a config file, so you can just mess around and tweak with that as well. One setting in the continents config that I will point out is the island threshold setting. This tells the mod if it's going to intentionally generate islands and stuff. So if you want islands on, just change it from 1.0 to 0.8. The closer to 0, the more islands there will be. 0.8 is just what the mod author recommends. Yeah, look at these beautiful rivers cutting through the landscapes. The rivers will also often come with like these boulders with moss, like just these things of rocks in them. And I believe, yeah, there will be clay deposits in these rivers. You can turn that off in options. You can change how often they are. I didn't realize it would be fire clay actually. That feels too good. Yeah, it's always fire clay. I actually never noticed. I might need to tweak that settings for myself personally. That feels too good. Oh, you can have little like cutouts like this because of the river mod. And then the river mods can create these really cool cutouts like going into the sides of mountains. And the river will just keep going. Oh, it actually ended there. Sometimes it does actually lead out of the mountain. And the river mod can also create these really cool situations where it will create like these underpasses. But it's not perfect. Sometimes you'll get like these floating bits here. But I do personally really love how this river mod does stuff. You'll kind of also get these like dried up riverbeds at times too, which I like. Oh, and one thing real quick, I'm showing you all this in version 1.21, release candidate 4. So this should work in the full release of 1.21. And then if you want to use this in 1.20, this should also work fine in 1.20 because these mods are actually from 1.20. They just luckily still work in 1.21. Alright, we're in a new map, and this is the one where it's smaller continents and a little bit of smaller ocean in between. So the settings again for this type of map is 30% land cover and then 50% land cover scale. So you can still get decent sized continents like this. Like this is still pretty big. And there might be chances for a bigger continent still, but also there's still all this land in between. Like there's still a lot of land. Look, the other landmass is close enough that we can see it from the shore. One thing I will say that you might notice is with the smaller land masses, you are going to get less chances of rivers on average. So you can still get a river like is shown here, but they will probably be a little less frequent. But I could also be wrong. Maybe I just got unlucky with these land masses here. And look at this really cool island that generated here. This just looks so cool. And then this one over here also looks pretty cool. Yeah, look at that. I would say why not give tweaking some of the settings a shot, like both in the mod configs and also just the normal world gen settings, and see if you can tweak it to more your liking. But if you don't want to spend all that time wasting on that stuff, because it can take a bit to fine tune and figure out what you find the settings that work for exactly what you want. If the two options I showed you from this map and the previous map work for you, then just use those, of course. But for those that do want a similar continent experience to this map, to where they're like smaller continents, and you want to do it without any mods, then I can show you a setting you can do for a vanilla world config to get generally close. It won't have rivers if you're not going to use mods though, but these settings I'm about to show you can get you close. So the settings to use are actually the recommended settings for the continents mod, but we just won't be using any mods here. So just 30% land cover and then 100% land cover scale. Apply. So this is the map that got created. It's not too bad. It's a little bit more sneaky at times. Like this continent over here is probably gonna keep like extending. There is like oftentimes like very close, like little tiny like sneaky connections. It's not the worst, it's not the greatest. The continents mod I still think does a better job at this, but if you really wanted a more a non-modded vanilla way to do this, this is an alternative. But that is all for getting continents and rivers and whatever in your vintage story. I hope this was helpful, and yeah, hopefully I didn't miss anything. Until next time, see you later. Bye.